All right, you guys, what's up? I'm Zach here with Magic Blog, and I'm going to give you guys some insight on how to show up on local Google search when people are searching, and I'm going to give you guys some really actionable SEO tips of how you can actually implement that onto your website. But before we dive into those specific tips, I want to make sure that you guys have a really good understanding of what SEO is, how it works, because I believe it's just pretty similar to like sports. If you know the rules of the sports, you can actually maximize what you're able to do within that set of rules, which gives you a competitive advantage. But if you don't know the rules, then it's not going to give you a good competitive advantage. So we're going to make sure that you guys have a really good understanding of that. All right, let's dive right on in. So let's minimize myself there, and we'll go from here. So the steps that a user takes when they're jumping on Google and they're searching. So what happens, a user jumps on Google, whether it's Safari or Chrome or Firefox or Brave, there's a lot of different browsers they could jump on. Most of them are using Google as the search engine, but they could be using Bing or a couple other different types there, but we're just going to call it Google as far as the search engine goes. So the user jumps on the search engine like Google and goes ahead and searches a term, like let's say pest control or something along those lines. As they do that, Google is obviously going to pull up all the most relevant links and websites, and it's going to display all of those. And the user gets to decide, hey, did that bring up a good set of results for me? And if it did, I'm going to go ahead and go over here, and I'm going to jump on one of those actual websites because I think it's actually applicable to what I was looking for. And then they decide if on that website, if they got the results that they're looking for. If they didn't, then they generally go back and they either just choose one of the other web pages, or they change their search result and they start it over again. So that's generally how Google search works for users. But and I'm sure all of you guys knew that already. But now we're going to jump into how does the search engine do that? What's going on in the search engine side of things? So when a user jumps on Google, they search in Google. It's really similar, just like before. But now Google's going to present, it's the same thing. Google's going to present the most relevant, including location, authoritative options, which brings up a couple questions. A, how does it know the location? B, how does it know it's relevant? And C, how does it know that this website has authority inside of this specific topic? We're going to jump over here under authority first and cover that really quickly. So Google deems something as authoritative through a few different reasons. There's quite a few different ways. I'm really trying to boil this down, just spark notes it real quick. But first of all is the content on the website. I don't have one here for content, but content on the website. And if there's good content that is applicable to what the user is searching about, then it makes sense for Google to show that. But what if there's so many people talking about the same exact type of content? How do you know which one should be more authoritative? How do you know that somebody's not telling a lie about what the content they're displaying and somebody's telling the truth? So Google's going to do that in a few different ways. A, does this website talk a lot about this type of content? Is there a lot of things on this website that that the website's continually talking about this topic? B, is there any public approval? And how does Google know if there's public approval? Well, first of all, it's going to be backlinks. Are there any other websites that are linking back to this website on this specific topic? Let's say it's about pest control, and somebody who is dealing with pest control linked back to this website, and they all of a sudden now have a backlink to that website talking about it. And if you get a bunch of those, then that means that Google believes, hey, other people think that this content is good, that must make it good. Another thing is the amount of clicks and time on page. How many people saw back in that one other session, or the section that we're talking about, where the user saw the results, they clicked on a specific result. How many people are clicking on that result after they're typing in the specific phrase? And if a lot of people are specifically clicking on that, then that's another sign that it's probably more applicable to what that specific search phrase was. And another thing is the time on page. So did somebody click on it, and did they spend a long time on that specific page, or did they bounce off? It's called bouncing off, when they went back to the search results page and clicked on a different link. Because if they bounced off and they went to the different result in that search results page, that shows Google, hey, it wasn't actually very it didn't answer the question of what this user was searching for. So that's another way to kind of know if it's working or if it's not working. That all leads to public approval, which is important. And another thing is, like I said, content and consistency. Was this website consistently talking about this specific topic, or was it like a one-time thing that it actually talked about this? And all of those different factors. Plus, eventually, Google starts giving your domain an authority ranking, and so you can rank higher and higher and higher, and that kind of does affect everything, but most specifically, Google gives you very specific authority inside of whatever topic you've been talking a lot about. So again, that covers the content and consistency right here. That's probably one of the most important specific things. That's just a quick spark note, again, of how Google deems a website as authoritative. Relevant is obviously what it's talking about. Was the search relevant to the content on this website? And again, kind of Google can figure that out of the public approval. Was there a big bounce rate, or was it an appropriate bounce rate? Because if somebody gets on your website, they read what they're looking for and they close out of the entire browser or whatever, they just close out, then in Google's eyes, that makes them believe, hey, they found exactly what they're looking for and they didn't need to do any more searching for it. So that's actually a good thing. And we can dive into relevancy a little bit more in just a second. So once the user clicks on one of those links, generally they're going to click above the fold. That's going to be where the consumer is going to think, hey, this is the most likely reputable company up above the fold, or website above the fold, which the above the fold literally just means so they didn't have to scroll down. They didn't have to do any scrolling to get to that link, because nobody's going to scroll to the 5th page to find a specific response to an answer. They'll probably just refine what they're actually searching for. Sometimes people will scroll down a little bit, and nowadays sometimes it's, sponsored ads and whatever will pop up first, but then you can specifically find stuff down below. And again, if the user finds what they're looking for and they close a tab, that's actually a good thing. And then if the user didn't find what they're looking for, then they'll go back to the top and they'll search again, clear up here. So that's exactly what we were talking about up above. But now let's talk about relevant. How does it know what is relevant? So that brings us into what search engine optimization is. So SEO, you probably heard me say it a lot, probably heard other people talk about SEO. What does SEO mean? Search engine optimization, right here. Search engine optimization. Specifically what it is Google goes into every single website out there and it crawls all the websites and it collects information from it. It says, hey, what keywords are on here, what specific phrases, what cities and locations and states or countries are inside of this website, what metadata is it on there. So Google gathers all of the information on the website and it files it. It organizes it really seamlessly. And then when a user goes and searches something, it goes, let's say it searches pest control. It's going to go through every single website inside of this little folder, organized folder that Google has, and it's going to pull up all the websites, and then it's going to deem which one's the most relevant within that specific search, and which one is going to be most authoritative in that search, but also most relevant as far as location for a lot of different things. Like pest control, Google's going to know that you're specifically looking for something for pest control. And that's going to be much more of a location-based type of a service. Whereas if you're looking for something like let's say like a software, Google's not going to care as much of where the software was created. Yeah, it's going to probably pull some of the information of like, hey, what language is this software focused on? And it's going to, but that's going to be a relevant term. Like if you search a specific English phrase, it's going to pull up English software. But some searches aren't as location-based, and Google can know that, and so it'll show things that are not location-based. But things that are location-based, such as a direct service or contracting service or a restaurant or a ton of different things like that, Google's going to specifically try to categorize and figure out what location is the most applicable, what website is the most applicable to this user's specific location that they're searching from. So again, like I said, Google's going to jump into your website and it's going to track actually all the information. It's one of the ways that it does it is through meta tags. That's all the invisible stuff on the website. It's the unseen stuff. So stuff like, well, some of it's seen, like the page titles and different things like that. But meta descriptions are like summaries that you can have on the specific web page. You can do alt image text, which you don't see unless you're actually looking for it. And you right click on it and you find it that way. A lot of different ways that Google does. You can help Google figure out what category you should fit in, because if you're obviously pest control and you don't want to be showing up for restaurants inside of Vermont, if you're in California, you'd much rather be showing up in California for pest control services. That's what you want to show for. So we can help Google identify what our websites are about, and that's what SEO is all about. It's helping Google know when when your website is relevant to what the user is searching. A huge way that you can do that, again, is by adding content on your website. Google's going to know a lot more about you if you have a ton of content on your website. It's just going to give Google way more information to be able to analyze and figure things out. So in the same way of like, if you go on a date with a girl, the first day you go out with a girl, you're never going to really know who she is. But after, let's say, 10 years of being married to her and you have so much content, so much information about her, you know her way better. So again, the more information we can give Google, the better Google actually figures out how to analyze and file and organize us and figure out if we're relevant. And Google's also gonna, and that plays into the authoritative part as well. So we want to make Google believe that we're really relevant and really authoritative in what we're actually wanting to show up for. One of the best ways to add content on our website is blogging. If you specifically are blogging all the time about relevant terms, relevant topics, everything that we're talking about, then it'll actually be a great way for you to start ranking higher, building more authority and everything inside of there. And when you're doing your blogging, you want to make sure you're following Google's best practices. So one of those is consistency. Some of those is like users experience, internal, external linking. There's quite a few different specific best practices that Google has figured out and whatnot. And consistently, also blogging and working on your SEO, it doesn't happen just overnight. This is kind of a little graph that I like to look at here. It's like what people expect is going to happen is just going. But what really happens is barely any growth, and then all of a sudden Google starts realizing, okay, they've got more authority and they're actually working on this. They're actually trying to answer the user's questions. So implementing strategic keywords, you want to make sure that you are actually giving Google the keywords, the specific things that you're talking about. You don't want to just talk around what you're talking about. You want to actually use the keywords such as pest control or local pest removal services, different things like that. So that when people search those specific things in there, Google's like, oh, this website actually talked about that there. So also answering the user search query. So if somebody's asking like, hey, do bed bugs live in Colorado? You want to have some sort of answer to that. And that's one of the great things that blogging can do, is it can answer users' questions. It can answer Googlers' questions, and that'll help them understand, and that'll give you more authority and everything, especially if they're actually getting those answers and they're closing out the web page, then Google's like, yep, they got exactly what they're looking for there. So let's see. Search engine organization, SEO right over here. We can go ahead and I'm going to give you guys some 10 main places that you should add specifically location-based SEO inside of your website. That's what this whole entire video is about. I want you to have actionable items at the end of this of where you can go and specifically put locations in your website. So let's dive into that. You only want to add locations into relevant areas of your website. You don't want to just be, putting it every single place, but in places that are relevant. So that's there's 10 main places that you should do that, and we'll dive right into that here. So one of those places is going to be page titles. So what you can be doing is when you are, creating a page, you can specifically have like a, pest removal in Oklahoma, or pest removal in Kansas City, or whatever it is, the specific city and the specific location. You can also have a ton of pages with that exact same title, just change the city. If you're, serving a greater metro area and you want to hit all the suburb towns and all the local towns around there, you can go ahead and do that as well. So, best plumbing services in blank city. tiny house plans in blank city. So you want to make sure that you are filling in the city, and you can, like I said, have 20 different pages that are just like this one right here, and they're all pretty similar. You don't want it to just be literally copy paste. You want it to be completely original content on there, but it can be pretty similar in the sense of like the same format and so on. It's one of those best practices things there. But you want to make sure that you're able to drop in the city in as many applicable places as possible. So that's one of them there. Number 2 is meta descriptions. So, like I was saying earlier, an alt image text. So when you're putting in an image of a job that you did, and you went and you moved, moles out of somebody's yard, you can take some pictures before and after, and you can say mole removal service in Kansas City or whatever it is. So you can do that sort of a thing there. You can also put it inside of the meta descriptions of the web pages. You can put it in a lot of different meta spots. So you want to make sure that you're able to optimize your website in that way. So go ahead and do that there. Number 3 is headings and subheadings. So the H1s are the headings of your blog articles and blog posts. You can also stick it inside of the H2 and H3 tags and headings. So what you'll do there is, let's say you have a blog post all about capturing raccoons inside of let's say Oklahoma or whatever, and as you're going down, you want to make sure that you have an H2 about specific cities that you've actually captured raccoons in, or that there's maybe specific different rules or laws about what you can do with a raccoon once you've captured it in that area. And that way you can help people find you by searching, hey, captured a raccoon, what do I do with it? And then they find you, and then they can use your services. So all these types of things. Professional tiny house construction in blank city. And then you can go from there. So number 4, body content. Naturally mention the city in the content of your web pages. You want to make sure that it feels organic and not forced. You want to make sure that it's applicable to what you're writing inside of there. So just like this, and then number 5 is URL structure. So create location-specific URLs that are relevant. So you can do all of those same web pages that we were just talking about. Make sure that you're also getting the city or the specific location, maybe state or country, whatever it is that you're looking for, inside of the URL as well. So that's a great way to get, that's off-page SEO, to where it's not actually on the page that people are reading, but it's actually specifically inside the URL, which Google actually helps categorize and organize its information that way as well. So 6, alt images, text for alt images. We already talked about that. That's some meta description there as well, but it's actually more specific for the images. I covered that one early, didn't I? All right. On your contact page, you want to make sure that you clearly list your business address with the city, state, and zip code, and every single applicable spot there. So that way that on your website, it's very clear that Google knows your contact page. It knows where you are. And that way that it can help Google really identify, hey, this is the city that they're based out of. And it actually helps them kind of draw a circle around the specific area of where you're able to provide your services. So you want to make sure that you do your local business schema markup. I'm not going to spend much time on this one, but make sure that you do that. If you're interested in that, you can look it up more specifically. And then number 9, in your services page. So if you have multiple locations, or if you do multiple different services, then you can go ahead and do different things like this. So you can even have like a versus here. So if you have like perform 2 different services, like maybe like a mold inspection versus like mold testing, you can do like yourwebsite.com// mold services testing versus mold testing in this city versus this city, or whatever it is. So you can do that, or you can do cities versus cities. You can also do like your services versus services, but in the specific city. So the different applications there. One of my favorite here is in the footer as well. So inside of the footer, you want to make sure that you don't just list your one city or your one county or whatever it is that you're trying to rank for, but you list out a lot of the different cities that are in your area. Basically, anywhere that you service, you want to make sure that that city is specifically listed inside of the footer. That's a really big one. And in the footer, it's super important, you guys, because one of the main reasons it's important on the footer is specifically because that lands on every single page that you have. The footer should be a site-wide footer, and that way, literally in every single page, you're getting a city, a specific location city inside of every single page. So if somebody looks up a much smaller town inside of your area that you haven't actually written any blog posts or anything about, but you did get it inside of the footer there, and they're talking about like mold testing in this small town, it's actually going to rank pretty well because it's on that specific page there. And you can also have a specific page for each city as well, and just list out all the services that you have really quickly there. And bonus here for contractors and people who are providing services that they like to document what they're doing is have a past projects and a portfolio page. This one's really important. I've seen way too many people not take advantage of this one. If you did a specific job inside of San Francisco, make sure you take photos of that job. You actually create a page. You can do this really easily on a lot of different website builders with CMS collections. You can just literally have the same exact format for all of them, and you just literally upload the images and you just write a blurb about what it is. You make sure that all the meta description is correct, and it's a really great way to actually implement your portfolio, so it builds trust with your clients as well, or potential clients and leads, but it also is reinforcing that specific SEO service there for your local area. So it's a really important one. All right, you guys, that's everything that I have for right now. But like I said, there's actually 11 actionable items that you can work on your website right now. If you are looking for some additional blogging, auto blogging services where you set it up one time and you never have to touch it again, or maybe if you just want to optimize it, you can, I would check out Magic Blog. It's a great way for you to actually implement consistency in your content, and you can get really dialed in and have it multiple different auto blogging set up to where you can have a ton of different types of content always going to be posting on your website, whether it's small town based or just different service based or service based on small town or the local areas around. You can actually get it really refined and consistently create a lot of content to go on your website. That's one of the best ways to enhance your domain authority and enhance your relevancy when people are searching for local services, exactly what you're providing. So go ahead and check that out. And you guys, thanks for sticking it out with me, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.